Hello, my name is Ina Thierry. As an emerging social worker, as well as a teacher with more than 20 years of experience, I know how important it is to be able to understand another person and have an unconditional positive regard through acceptance. Our capacity to understand is related to our ability to perceive things from a different frame of reference. And the first step in fostering this capacity is to go inside ourselves and examine who we are, to reflect on what we do and why it is we do it, to be honest about our biases and breaking points, our habits and assumptions, our weaknesses and strengths. In other words, if we want to understand another person's story, we must know our own. As Simons and Christopher claim, storytelling is a way of honoring tradition and honoring ways of knowing. So before attempting to address the question for this assignment, it is very important to mention who and what I am because, well, I'm not a blank slate, and my reflections on the module, without a doubt, will be done through my culture, my personal values, my lived experiences, the way I understand the world, my educational background, and the resulting biases. So I was born in the USSR into a family of so-called Russian Jewish intelligentsia in the 1970s. The political climate and the social reality of a totalitarian regime is best described in Orwell's novel 1984, and I'm sure my listeners are very familiar with it. So my experience of being born and living under this regime had an indelible impact on who I am today. I know how it feels when someone is trying to close off a person's identity by determining what they should think, what they should say, how they should understand their relationship to the world, and what their possibilities for the future are. So as a future social worker and as a current teacher, I offer my clients, like my students right now and my future clients, multiple identity positions to engage from, tapping into their strengths and seeing them as successful. I do realize, however, and that's a pretty recent realization, that their definition of success and ways of knowing might differ from mine. Growing up in Eastern Europe and spending a significant part of my life in Israel, I am aware that Western methods and ways, or any other methods or ways for that matter, are not the only objective ways of knowing. And this understanding humbles me and assists me in honoring a different cultural, geographical, religious, and ethnical context. So the idea expressed in one of the articles for this module that a central principle of social justice-oriented group work is building knowledge from people's lived experiences means a lot to me. In my mind, it goes hand in hand with one of the fundamental values of social work. It's empowering marginalized people by making them realize they belong to a specific community, possessing unique perspective of their circumstances, and then being clearly aware of the solutions to bring about the desired change. As Jacobs and Rugley claim, with the social justice approach to group work, the social worker is inside the process, not on the outside looking in. It means being in the process instead of controlling it and learning to be humble. Humility is the mark of someone who has gone ways down the road and has caught a glimpse of just how long the road is. That's a beautiful quote from the article by Jacobson and Rugley. So, critically reflecting on the knowledge and understanding of the Aboriginal communities, however, I am cognizant of the fact that I am largely unfamiliar with the depth and intricacies of Indigenous way of knowing. Throughout my master's in education at the University of Calgary, and also in this program, I had a chance to learn a little bit about Aboriginal people And I have also read on my own a few books like Seven Fallen Feathers and In Search of April Raintree. And I am painfully aware that negative societal views hurt Aboriginal people like every day through discriminatory attitudes and behaviors. And so, as Jean and Kulig state, you can't be genuinely concerned about the community's well being while perceiving it through the lenses of pathology, like, addictions and laziness, lack of intelligence and poverty. So, the question that haunts me and troubles me is. And you might think that this is not related to the content of the module, but I believe that it is very much related. So the question that haunts me is, like, why Canadian government, why Ottawa is more interested in offering help to other countries while our own population is in dire crisis. We need, in my opinion, we need to set our country in perfect order before going into the world and fixing other countries' problems. So what the module reiterated for me is that identifying inequality and oppression in social environment generally and in Aboriginal context specifically is not enough. As Jacobson and Rugley posit, an ethically informed practice does not stop short of responding. Identification must be followed by action. So participatory action research is a philosophy and an approach to gathering information for strengthening communities through understanding of our relationships with each other, with the purpose of building movements for change. Not viewing the communities or the participants of the research through the lenses of deficiency, but rather of human agency, will enable the researchers to utilize the strength perspective and, as a result, empower the participants by giving them the voice to describe their experiences and perceptions. Reflecting on the content of the module has made me realize again and again how profoundly important it is to give the Indigenous people the voice to tell their untold stories. Aboriginal people need to restore control over their lives through self-determination. Their communities possess profound understanding of themselves, their traditions, culture, ways of life, spirituality, well-being, and they have a fundamental and most natural right, and I would like to stress that, not only the right, but the responsibility to be, and this is the quote from the article by Castellano, to be the guardians and the interpreters of their culture and knowledge systems. They must be co-researchers and be actively engaged in redefining Aboriginal research into a tool for creating and disseminating knowledge that authentically represents them. Why is it so important? Because creating and sharing knowledge authentically, representing who you are and how you understand the world, is integral to the survival of an identity, any people. So principles of ownership, control, access, and possession are fundamental in research with Aboriginal people, and this is something that is it's a new concept for me that I learned from Module 6. Another important insight from the reading in this module that resonated with me is that, like in any act of searching, be it searching for knowledge or anything else, it is a process that is informed by and deeply permeated in culture. So as Kovach claims in her paper, because so much of Indigenous ways of knowing is internal, personal, and experiential, creating one standardized external framework for Indigenous research is impossible and inevitably heartbreaking for Indigenous people. So the collectivist worldview of Aboriginal people obviously does not fit the dominant culture of Canada. And so we know of many misunderstandings that have occurred in the past due to this disconnect. So research with Aboriginal people must strive for a balance between identifying existing lack of fairness and injustice and strength within the Aboriginal communities. It is important to emphasize, however, that the Indigenous research or wisdom seeking is not an alternative to Western research system. It is a research system, and I was really glad to hear that idea from our Zoom session with the instructors. What was really nice to hear as well was that when Aboriginal people speak about maintaining and revitalizing their culture, they are not proposing to go back to igloos and teepees or hunter-gathering lifestyle. They are talking about restoring order of daily living in conformity with ancient and enduring values that affirm life. The relationships between individual behavior, customs, community, protocols, and ethics, and worldviews. So how does feminist-informed participatory research, action research, fall into all of this? Well, it also redefines research subjects as participants and co-researchers, rejecting the banking module and incorporating the co-creation of knowledge instead, focusing on the women's unique realities and experiences, and of course striving for critical consciousness, personal transformation of women, and their empowerment and self-determination of women, of which we could achieve through a collective dialogue and participatory processes, like it was so vividly demonstrated to me in the video about the fruit gathering. So I am really hopeful for, I would call it a circle where individual change may lead to a social change, and the social change in its turn may promote individual change. I really hope that I'm a person with the ability for critical thinking, and I would like to use the idea of Jordan Peterson. He explores in his wonderful book 12 Rules for Life that what you don't know, what I don't know, is more important than what I know. Because what I don't know can start being my friend, because every time I encounter something that I don't know, that I'm ignorant about, and there are a lot of things that I'm ignorant about when it comes to Aboriginal culture, I should be really happy about that. By listening to people, by opening ourselves to things we don't know, we embark on learning and self-education, and we go on a road of continuous self-transformation, which is of an extreme importance to me. And I would also like to say, like, with respect to Aboriginal communities, I would like to use the words of the Rabbi Miller of Beit Tzedek Synagogue of Calgary, who said that if we feel pain, we are alive, but if we are capable of feeling pain of another, we are human beings. Imagining myself in a role of a social worker, I know, like from my role of a teacher right now, I know that my clients, regardless of their backgrounds, are going to be expecting me to honor their traditions and their ways of knowing. They will also have a desire for genuine recognition, affiliation, and safety and security. I mean, all those things that I myself, like a mother, like a woman, a wife, a daughter, a teacher, and a future social worker, have so much desire for. And I know that I am going, like, having an indelible impact on clients' life, their careers, the lives of their families. The do no harm concept is is number one in the social work field. And as a result, it must be the services that we are providing to our clients, they must be carried out with utmost care, similar to operating in the medical field. Gaining understanding of perceptions and feelings, expectations, the culture of my clients, to ensure that their needs are served, they must rest on mutually respectful relationship with the other oriented rather than self-focused perspective. And I believe that this could be achieved through a lot of listening and talking and listening some more, maximizing my clients' power and participation. Thank you very much for your time, for listening to my ideas. Thank you.